following show is controversial and contains content you may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. 98 FM's Dublin Talks. Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
It's Thursday morning. Good morning. How are you today? I'm Adrian Kennedy, and between now and midday today, this is 98 FM's Dublin Talks, the mid-morning talk and phone-in show for Dublin, by Dublin, and about Dublin. If it is happening in our city or in the world at large, we do our best to talk about it on the programme. So what have we got coming up on today's menu? A lot of stuff. In just a moment, we'll be crossing over to Heathrow Airport in London, of all places, where I'm going to be talking to Michael Jackson's nephew, Taj. He's not happy about the Leaving Neverland documentary, which was on last night, that claimed his uncle was a paedophile. If you saw the programme, you will have some comments on that, I'm sure. And we'd love to hear from you. You can text or WhatsApp your opinion to us right now to 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. If you want to pass comment on the documentary last night. We'll be talking to Ireland's number one Michael Jackson fan, who absolutely refuses to believe the allegations. Aer Lingus is telling its female cabin crew that they no longer need to wear makeup, and we were going to be asking whether or not all companies should follow suit. Here's one for you. If you're a dub, you might be familiar with this. We have a little quiz for you later on. Can you tell us where certain statues are around our city? You know them all to see, but where are they? We're going to be quizzing you on your knowledge of statues here in Dublin a little bit later on. And then we're going to be asking you, is it right that schools are telling parents what they can and can't give their kids in their lunch? No crisps, no cheese strings, in fact, nothing that can be in any way deemed to be unhealthy. One woman is very upset that her child got a letter home to say you shouldn't have sent your child in with, I think it was fruit winders or whatever they're called. We'll talk about that later on. We have a busy programme, needless to say, between now and midday today, and live from Dublin City Centre. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks. I'm Adrian Kennedy. Now, last night on Channel 4 from 9 o'clock, a documentary aired called Leaving Neverland. Now, I don't know if you saw it. If you did, you may have an opinion on it. I saw it myself, watched the whole thing, and yeah, I'm a bit conflicted, but the documentary featured Wade Robson and James Safechuck, both of whom have alleged that they were sexually abused by Michael Jackson as children. The two men described in detail their relationship with Michael, how he nurtured their talents, and the close bond they felt with him. But they also went on to graphically describe the abuse they alleged to have happened at several of Michael Jackson's homes, including his famous Neverland Ranch in California. And again, my question to you is, did you see the documentary last night? Has it changed your opinion on Michael Jackson? Or do you think it's wrong to accuse a deceased man? I mean, he's not here to defend himself. And for those of you who did watch it, it seemed like a very one-sided documentary, in that everything that was portrayed on the programme last night went completely unchallenged. We'd be in a lot of trouble if we were to do a radio programme like that was completely unbalanced. However, you can't libel or slander a dead person, so that's how the documentary has been able to go ahead. Completely unbalanced, if you like. Anyway, I'd love to get your opinions on it on 6797981. Now, one of the people involved in the documentary last night was Wade Robson. And here's just a tiny bit of what he said on the documentary last night.
Every time we were together, it happened. There was no night that went by that I was with him that he didn't sexually abuse me.
Okay, so there wasn't one night went by where he didn't sexually abuse me. But back in 2003, the same gentleman appeared on the Jimmy Kimmel show on American television, where he was asked about his relationship with Michael Jackson.
And you started as a youngster dancing with Michael Jackson?
Yeah, started dancing when I was like 2, and then won a dance competition when I was 5 that Michael was holding sort of all over the world doing his tour. And it was like a dance-alike contest like him.
Right.
I won that, and then the prize.
And you moved into the ramp.
Easy, Dean.
No, he's not moving to the ramp. Yeah. Are you still friendly with Michael?
Yeah, we still talk every couple months, catch up.
You do, really?
Yeah.
Well, what's he like?
What's he like? He's a good guy.
He's a good guy?
Yeah.
Show me where he touched you. Nothing ever like that? No nonsense, no shenanigans?
No nonsense, no shenanigans. That was in a television interview back in 2003. And I would love to hear from you on this on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp the programme on 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. And reaction is coming in already like this WhatsApp message.
Yeah, I watched the documentary last night and I've never believed he's done that. And did the courts not find him not guilty? And there was the fact that those two kids had a very similar story, that they felt sidelined by Michael Jackson and, they were no longer in his favour, if you like. And they were very jealous of the new kids. And obviously they felt that he'd promised them fame and fortune and he hadn't delivered on his promises. And, they just seemed very, very upset and jealous. And I think that's where a lot of this comes from.
Okay, well, I'd love to hear from you on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp the programme on 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. Now, earlier on from Heathrow Airport, just before he boarded a plane to Los Angeles, I spoke with Taj Jackson, who is Michael Jackson's nephew, and he has been speaking out about this particular documentary, and obviously you can imagine the side that he is taking on this. And I began by asking him his reaction to the documentary, which aired in the UK and Ireland last night.
Yeah, I mean, it was very hard because it was so one-sided. The director, Dan Reed, he never even wanted to get a conflicting opinion. He had his narratives, basically, and he could have asked a family member, he could have asked other people that have worked for Michael, because Michael's no longer here. He's not here to defend himself. And so I think it's just very unfair, and it's kind of dangerous in a way, because now this can happen to anyone.
The program, at least last night's show that was shown here, does paint a very shocking image of your uncle as being a child groomer and a child abuser. But you yourself, as a child, would have spent a lot of time in Neverland. Did you ever witness anything untoward, if you like?
No, and, the thing is that, a lot of my friends have gone to Neverland. A lot of my friends have been there, and the way they paint the picture of it is just ridiculous. And a lot of my friends are actually, on message boards angry as well, because when you actually go there and you know what it is, and then you see it on TV being painted another way, it's very betraying.
So in terms of what you witnessed as a child, you're Tito Jackson's son, and as a child you spent a lot of time in Neverland. What was it like as a child? What did you witness as a child?
Honestly, Neverland was better than Disneyland. I hate to say it like that, because everything was free. The candy was free, the yogurt was free, watching movies was. And so, the playground was free. But I think the best memories, honestly, for me at Neverland was just when I would see underprivileged kids. There was like hundreds of them there, and just watching them run around and kind of being free. Or, the Make-A-Wish Foundation would be there. And when you see that and you see the smiles on the kid's face, it's everything. So, they're for 1 minute or 1 hour, they're not thinking about their sickness. And I think that's the beauty of Neverland.
So with children that had a special place in Michael Jackson's heart, like the two featured in the documentary last night, who had a very close relationship with him, regardless of what their accusations are. What do you think his motivation would have been for befriending children like that?
The thing is that my uncle had been working, he had been doing music since he was 5 years old, professionally since he was 8 years old. He was performing at clubs and nightclubs with his brothers. He used to ask me, what's it like to have a birthday? What's it like to hang out with friends? He didn't have friends. He was in studio. His brothers were his friends, but he didn't have outside friends. He had tutors. So, we look at it as, of course, it looks a different way for the outside world, but, that's why Macaulay Culkin understands him, because that was Macaulay Culkin's life as well in that way. Macaulay Culkin and him were kind of peers in that way, because Macaulay Culkin understood what it's like to work as a kid and not have that childhood.
Is it possible that because you were related to him, because he was your uncle, that you may not have been aware of potential abuse going on in Neverland?
No, definitely. Well, first of all, Neverland had hundreds of employees. And, they even allude in the deposition that it was basically a school for abusers. And they cleverly and smartly cut that out of the documentary, because they would have been sued by everyone that worked at Neverland. But in their deposition, they've said that. And I think the thing is, first of all, I spent thousands of hours with my uncle, and I'm actually a sexual abuse survivor myself from an uncle on my mom's side of the family. So I'm very, very aware of the importance of, victims coming out. But at the same time, I can't allow people that are making stuff up to ride that wave as well.
And is that what you see it as, making stuff up?
Well, when you purposely omit stuff out of a narrative, like Wade, purposely omitted that he was dating my cousin Brandy for 8 years during the time when he supposedly was being molested by Michael Jackson. That's very misleading, because it doesn't fit the narrative. And the thing is that my Uncle Michael was the one that connected Wade and Brandy together. But that doesn't go with the narrative, because supposedly Michael Jackson's supposed to be in love with Wade.
So what do you think the ultimate motivation is for Dan Reed making the documentary, and for Wade Robson and James Safechuck to take part in it? What was the motivation?
Well, for Dan Reed, these are his words. He basically said he was looking for a big story that hadn't been covered. He wanted that next big story. That was what he said. So how much bigger can you get than Michael Jackson? And he actually pursued Wade and James from that. Now, Wade and James have a civil case right now with the Michael Jackson estate that they're hoping to appeal. So when they say it's not about money and they're not getting anything from it, they're suing the estate for hundreds of millions of dollars right now. So it's their best interest to have public opinion on their side, so that they can kind of sway, and it's very frustrating in that way, because I'm thinking about it. I'm pacing because I'm angry, because I've heard people say, well, they're not getting paid by HBO, or they're not getting paid by Channel 4. No, but they have a suit for hundreds of millions of dollars that's up for appeal this year, and so they can get paid hundreds of millions of dollars if things go their way.
Is it a case that the family, being a family, are always going to blindly back Michael and back his memory and so on, and that perhaps you're not prepared to look at the bigger picture?
Yes, it's very, and I say the same thing for his family, whether it's Wade's family or James's family that were on TV. My uncle's not here to defend himself. So we have to look at it both ways. That's why, for me, I would have been content if Dan Reed would have went out to other kids that have spent a lot of time with Michael. But he wasn't interested in that, because most of those people, from Macaulay Culkin to Brett Barnes to Johnny Spence, are very pro-Michael and know that he would never do this. I'm biased because I'm a family member, so go after someone else.
What is this doing to your family? I saw earlier on today that your grandmother isn't in good health and is finding it very difficult to deal with a documentary like this. This must have a devastating effect on the family and on Michael's own children.
You know, it does. When it's doubly devastating when you feel like you don't have a voice, when you feel like you've gone through this before, you've gone through court cases before. He was exonerated, but then now he's not here to defend himself, and someone can make a documentary, a one-sided documentary with no other opposition, and basically that can become fact now.
Taz Jackson, I really appreciate your time. I know you're about to board a flight to LA and a long journey ahead of you. Yeah. But thank you very much indeed for talking to us on 98 FM.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay, now, I would love to hear from you on this. On 6797 981, you can text or WhatsApp the programme on 0877 98 98 98. As I said, he would have stayed on longer, only you had to go and catch a flight. And now, let me look at the other side of this. And one of the questions that people have been asking about the documentary is, why now? Why 10 years after his death have these men finally... no, they have kind of spoken before, but not in such a public way, and really given great detail of the sort of abuse that they claim that they suffered as children. Why now is one of the questions that a lot of people have been asking. And a lady who's been on this programme before is a lady called Fiona Doyle, who was a child sex abuse victim herself. And Fiona, you watched the documentary last night.
I surely did, yeah.
And what did you think?
I thought at the time, like yourself, that these men were very clear and precise and went into detail very well, which is something that only a victim can do. Obviously, they have been through, I would say, an awful lot of counselling and an awful lot of self-help in regards to the abuse. Like myself, I mean, if I hadn't done that, sure, I wouldn't be able to go on the phone and go on television programmes and talk about my abuse so clearly and precise as well.
Okay, a lot of people, ask, why now? Why did it take them so long when in the past, both of them, both Wade Robson and James Safechuck, denied that they were abused by him in any way? Why would they suddenly change, and why would it take this long for them to publicly claim what they've claimed?
Because of the shame. Because, and I felt that last night, like that programme last night would have been a trigger for a lot of people here in Ireland, and it was a trigger for me. And when they described that he would put on porn and he would get them to nearly pick what sex act he wanted to do on them, and that triggered memories for me. And I've never spoke about that before. And I remember watching porn with my father and him more or less saying, now, what would you like me to do to you there? And that turned your head, because you start to believe that you were responsible for the abuse because you picked what he was going to do to you.
So that could be an explanation. Indeed, both of them claimed that Jackson had, warned them never to speak about it, that it would ruin their careers and everything else, and they were just expressing love toward each other and all of that.
Yeah, they were groomed so well. And it's all in the grooming. It's all in the isolation away from our family members. And it's all in the attraction. It's in the, he attracted them there. So they were quite happy to put up with what was being done to them because they wanted to be there. They wanted to be in that world. That world was brilliant.
was it a case that they didn't want to destroy that?
Yeah. And then as they got older, they remembered that. They remembered, well, actually, I chose to be there. I chose to sleep in his bed because that's what he did. He gave them choices, and it was the fact that they were beating themselves up over these choices that brought shame and guilt on top of them. And I think that they're only coming out with it now because they've only dealt with the issues around it. Now I don't know that they've been to council, but that's the feeling I get.
No, they have. They have, yeah. Okay, so from what you saw last night, it doesn't surprise you that perhaps it took them so long to come out. It doesn't surprise you the fact that it is something that they denied in the past. None of that surprises you.
No, because it's all things I did. And there's many out there that don't come out until their 40s, their 50s, their 60s. There's some out there that never come out. And that is all part of the grooming, like what was done to you. And, you have to deal with family alienation then and victim blaming. And sure, I mean, just huge victim blaming going on now at the moment over that documentary.
Okay, but do me a favour, Fiona, have a listen to this WhatsApp voice message, if you will, okay? Just have a listen to this.
With all due respect to that girl, Fiona Doyle, on the radio, these lads have had 10 years to actually make up that story, get their story straight, and actually sound like that is the truth. I've no affiliation to Michael Jackson or his music, but to be fair, I don't think that it's true, but that's just my opinion.
What do you say to that, Fiona? That it took them this long to make up a credible story?
No. It took them this long to deal with their feelings over what happened. And I'm 8 years in counselling, and I'm still in counselling. I'm still dealing with things that happened to me. And believe me, when I go back to counselling this Monday, I'm going to have to talk about the Michael Jackson, the documentary, and the things that triggered for me.
Okay, well, do me a favour, Fiona, if you can stay there for 1 second. After the break, I'm going to be talking to probably one of Ireland's biggest Michael Jackson fans who doesn't believe a word of it, but also to a survivor of sexual abuse who also doesn't believe what was shown on that documentary. So, Fiona, stay with me for a couple of minutes if you can, please. I'd love to hear from you on this on 6797981. If you've just joined us, we're talking about the Leaving Neverland documentary on Channel 4 last night. I mean, there is no denying that it was very one-sided. All of the allegations that were made weren't in any way challenged. I think you can state that as a fact. But I'd love to know how you feel about it. We'll take a quick break and we're back in a second.
98 FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors. New store now open at Belgard Road, Tala. 98 FM.
And this is Adrian Kennedy with you until midday today. Leaving Neverland is a documentary that aired on television last night. The second part of it airs on Channel 4 tonight. And it features extensive interviews with two men, Wade Robson and James Safechuk, and members of their families, their mothers and so on. And it details very graphically sexual abuse they claim to have suffered as children. Now, in just a moment, I'm going to be talking to Rachel. I've disguised Rachel's voice because she was a victim of sex abuse by a family member. But because the because the person hasn't been charged or convicted, we have to disguise her voice. And Rachel, I'll talk to you in just a moment. You don't believe what you saw last night?
No, I didn't actually get to watch it last night, but I've read everything beforehand. I've recorded for tonight, but no, I don't believe it, and I have reasons why I don't believe it.
Okay, but if you can stay there for 1 second, yep. I'll find out what your reasons are for not believing it. But before I come back to you, I want to talk to a lady who describes herself as Michael Jackson's biggest fan. Katie joins me on the line. Katie, first off, let me ask you, did you watch the documentary last night?
No, I did not, and I had no intention of watching it.
Why?
Just
To me, Adrian, it's the same story since 1993, same story as 2003, and they won't be the last two.
So why do you blindly believe that all of these allegations are false?
Because, I mean, there's no evidence, Adrian. I mean, with Jimmy Safechuck now and Wade Robson, there is no evidence. They wait 10 years after Michael is dead, and then they come out with it. With Gavin Arvizo in 2003, there was no evidence. The jurors didn't believe them. They had nothing to go on. And he was vindicated on all 14 charges. And again in 1993, Geordie Chandler, again, nothing to go by. It's just all hearsay. There's no solid...
But isn't that the sinister nature of grooming and abuse? Indeed, in the programme last night, they both outlined how he swore them to secrecy and so on. Isn't that the sinister nature of child abuse?
I mean, it is. I mean, I presume any predator, child abuser, molester would do that to a victim. I mean, of course they're going to swear them to secrecy and threaten them. If anybody finds out, you'll go to jail for life, I'll go to jail for life, both our careers will be over. I mean, of course. But I mean, even Thomas Mesereau, Michael's lawyer from 2005, he said there was absolutely nothing. I mean, 70 sheriffs went into Neverland, stripped the place. They were there for 3 days and they found nothing. And I just think Wade Robson and Jimmy Safechuck, they're just opportunists now trying to cash in on an estate that's made nearly $500 million in 10 years since Michael died. So, to me, they're just money grabbers, and they're just, taking advantage of a very innocent, naive, and, sometimes clueless man,
And that's what you see him as a clueless man who had an odd sort of relationship with children. You don't see that there was anything sexual in anything he did, and you don't believe any of the allegations?
No. And clueless might sound a bit harsh. He was a bit naive in some ways, and that was just, he was very innocent. I mean, this is a guy who didn't know that he had to get, a license for a car and car insurance. He really was like a child, and then in other ways he was a genius. He just I've never, in my heart of hearts, for 5 seconds, thought that any of these allegations were true. Ever, never.
What is your reaction then, following the airing of the documentary around the world? A number of radio stations have announced that they're no longer playing Michael Jackson music, and people say they're no longer going to listen to Michael Jackson music. What do you think of that?
Well, I mean, I find that very hurtful, and I know everybody's entitled to their own opinions, but I just think, do your homework, do your research. It's so quick to jump on the bandwagon and say, yes, he was this, yes, he was weird, yes, he was whatever. I mean, it's, people aren't going to play his music. I mean, that's their own choice, but his music will never die, his legacy will never die, but if these people are out to ruin his reputation, but I mean, after, never mind 1993, 2003, his reputation was never the same again. And all that just contributed to his demise and his death.
But for you, as a Michael Jackson superfan, documentaries like this will not taint your opinion of him. You will continue to be one of his biggest fans in Ireland.
I will. I will always be number one, Adrian. I don't care what comes out. I'm with Michael. He can do no wrong. And it's the family. I feel sorry for the family and the fans. Because they're the ones who suffer.
All right, well, thanks very much indeed. Now, let me go back to Rachel, who, as I explained a moment ago, we have disguised her voice for legal reasons, but also a victim of sex abuse at a very young age by a family member. Rachel, what are your reasons for not believing what you know was on that programme last night, even though you didn't see it?
I just think that from my experience, I was told never to say anything, that I could get in trouble, that I was the wrong. And how came out with something so simple after a bath time. I mentioned something to the parents, and straight away they were on the bandwagon. It wasn't even, I didn't even tell them in detail or anything like that. I just said something simple when I was being tried, and straight away I was brought to a hospital and examined and tested, and the ball had started rolling. I just think as a parent, if you had an inkling that your child was abused in any way, you would get the ball rolling and you would not stop that ball. I don't care whether it was Michael Jackson or whoever in the world. I have kids now myself. The ball would not stop. I would fight and fight and fight and fight if I believed and my child was saying that something was done to them.
But from my understanding, though, Rachel, those two men, when they were kids, never revealed to their parents.
That's what I'm trying to say. They never revealed to their parents, right? And then, you know, if they were afraid, and you know, why didn't they say it in their teens? Why didn't they say it in their 20s? Why didn't they say it when he died? Because then he was. I mean, it just. I understand there was another lady. I didn't catch her.
Her name is Fiona. Is she still on the line here?
Yeah, Fiona. Like, my heart goes out to her and her situation, but everybody's different as well, because I went to counselling and I done it when I was young, up to maybe 10, and then I relapsed again.
But sorry, Rachel, to cut across you, one of the things that certainly came across to me watching that last night was that they idolised him, that they absolutely idolised him, that they loved him, and perhaps for so many years they didn't reveal the abuse because for a long time they might have thought it was love, you know, this sexual contact. Could that be true?
Me personally, I can't get my head around that. I can't understand that. I can't understand how parents, if they thought a child thought it was love and stuff, then they would be talking about it at home, and therefore a parent steps in and says, hold on a second, you can't have love between, you know, a grown man and a child. Do you know what I mean? And that's where the questions would be asked. That's where you would be brought, get the ball rolling, get the test done. Like, I'm not saying cases don't go unnoticed, but I do. What that lady said, you know, the girl that said she's a super fan, like what she said, so many times it has come to Michael Jackson, even a few times they've been found to be con artists, and they go away when you pay them off. There is no amazing world.
And is that what you see this as, a money grab?
I do see it as a money grab, yeah, I do. I just think, how could you be satisfied with cash? I would want, me personally, the person in jail, the person to pay, the person to suffer.
Okay, Fiona, I mean, what she's basically saying is you wouldn't in your wildest dreams leave it that long to see your abuser suffer.
Oh,
and indeed, they had the opportunity to testify against him.
Of course they did, yeah. But it was their own. They were getting rewarded for what they did. They were getting dazzled. They loved this man. I loved my dad. I would have done anything for my dad because I loved him. And when you're 7, you're dealing with a bitch.
I was 4.
Yeah, of course you were. But you didn't watch it last night. You didn't watch that last night.
No, but I've been reading everything before it came up because I recorded it because I had a lot of driving yesterday. I went to bed early.
So when you watch it, well then when you do watch it, let's see if you come back with the same thought.
Come back with the same thing because it's.
How do you know? You haven't watched it. You were lucky enough as a child to and brave enough as a child to step up and say,
but I didn't step up. It was something that was said, and because it sparked a fear and of, oh my God, that's not a normal thing to say. It was something I didn't come and say it to my parents. I didn't come and say it to a family member.
So, do you think you would have done?
It was just in chat. It was. I don't know. I was told not to, but yeah, maybe
exactly. You don't know.
Yes, I probably would have. In this day and age. They're not very old, those guys as well. You know, it's all talked about, and I think it's talked about an awful lot more now than it was back years and years ago. And it just, as a parent, you know yourself, I don't know, but you wouldn't let it go. I wouldn't personally let it go.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you go to mass?
No, I don't go to mass.
Why do you ask that question, Fiona?
Because the church abused so many children in Ireland, and yet they're still accepted, and yet the masses are still full. I mean, I walked around...
Fiona, they're not as full as they used to be. They're not as full as they used to be.
No, they're not, but they still are. You will always get people to believe that it wasn't done. You always get...
The church is slightly different, though, Fiona, in that, you can, in your head, say it was a number of bad people. It wasn't the entire church. We're talking about one individual person.
Yeah, who was very powerful and very rich. And I agree with all that. And
all right, do me a favour, both of you. Stay there for 1 second. Wade Robson and James Safechuck on the documentary that was aired on Channel 4 last night. The second part appears tonight, the Leaving Neverland documentary, claimed that they were abused and gave really graphic details of the abuse that they suffered. Now, for those of you who didn't see the documentary, this is just a tiny little excerpt of what Wade Robson said on the documentary last night.
Every time we were together, it happened. There was no night that went by that I was with him that he didn't sexually abuse me.
There wasn't a night went by where he didn't sexually abuse him. And after the break, I'm going to be talking to, Justin. You actually met with Wade Robson a couple of years back.
Yeah, I met Wade in 2009 at MJ's This Is It World Premiere. So it was an event that celebrated the King of Pop. It was an event that obviously Wade Robson willingly wanted to attend.
Okay, do me a favour, Justin, and stay on the line there for 1 second, because I want to find out more about that in straight after the break. Don't go away.
98 FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors. New store now open at Belgard Road, Tala. 98 FM.
And this is Adrian Kennedy with you until midday. Today's a huge reaction to what we're talking about, and that is the documentary that aired on Channel 4 last night, Leaving Neverland. The documentary featured Wade Robson and James Safechuck, both of whom have alleged in graphic detail that they were sexually abused by Michael Jackson as children. They described their relationship, how he nurtured their talents and the close bond they felt with him. But they also graphically described the abuse that they alleged to have happened at several of Michael Jackson's homes. And in fact, some of the descriptions that they gave were so graphic that we couldn't even play them on daytime radio. That's just a fact of it. We just wouldn't be allowed. It was that graphic. Now, Justin, one of the guys featured was Wade Robson, and you met him back in 2009. Tell me about that and what it was all about.
Yeah, so I met Wade in 2009 at Michael Jackson's This Is It premiere in Los Angeles. It was an event that celebrated the King of Pop. A lot of people, particularly myself and fans, were very much in mourning. It was 4 months after he passed. Mm-hmm. I obviously know a lot about Michael Jackson, anyone pretty much associated with him, and I knew Wade Robson, and I approached him in the lobby. And as a fan, I got talking to him, and he spoke to me very, very kindly about MJ. He also said the devastation he felt about his death, and he's the biggest influence, and he's done so much for me in my lifetime. And I just said, thanks for always supporting him, and as I always did. And at that same event, I met Tom Mesereau. And Tom Mesereau, I walked up to him and I thanked him as a fan. Tom Mesereau, sorry for people who don't know, it was Michael Jackson's lawyer in 2003.
That's right, yeah.
And I went up to him and I said, I thank you from the bottom of my heart, from every fan's heart, that you did this for someone who's just been brought through this injustice. And I'm not playing press. I don't have a camera in front of me. He turned around to me and he said, it was a travesty what happened to him. The man was innocent. He always was. He had to say that to me. I'm not paying him.
But as regards Wade Robson, who last night on that documentary graphically described the abuse that he claims to have suffered at his hand, did you get any sense from talking to him 10 years ago, shortly after Jackson's death, did you get any sense of him that there was something there that he was never going to speak about?
No, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know him personally. It was I
understand that, but it was a conversation with him.
It's about a fan. But you see, there's a timeline on Wade Robson, Adrian. In 2009, he approached to be the chief choreographer for This Is It. He didn't get that, right? Now, he moves on and he asks again, could I be chief choreographer for a Cirque du Soleil show that hit Vegas in 2010 and 11? He didn't get that. Then he went after the lawsuits, right? And this is not about money in Wade Robson's eyes. He went after the lawsuit. A judge in court has thrown all them out. Now, there's one that is still in appeal, and Taj mentioned that earlier to you. But you see, what also happened was, this is not about money, so all the memorabilia that Wade Robson has he begged Julian's auctions not to disclose who he was selling these things, but I think due to auction laws or whatever, they did disclose, and it is online, and he was selling MJ memorabilia because this guy doesn't need any money.
So this isn't a money grab then?
To me, this is a money grab. This is a money grab. What they're saying, the quote is that this isn't a money grab. But this is a 4-hour, one-sided, unethical media piece. It is drawn out, completely hijack, in my opinion, the Me Too movement that's happening right now. I think this is more damaging to MJ than seeing him in cuffs in 2005, which is ludicrous. These two people who no one knows from Adam, if you do the background on them like I have as a fan, they've got a history of lives, whether that's in personal life, whether that's financial life, or whether that's even for
okay,
the 5 years.
Okay, so why, Justin, then, would they take part in this 4-hour documentary where, as you can hear from today's programme, and this is just one radio programme in one city in Dublin, there's very mixed opinions. A lot of people don't believe them. Why would they put themselves up for possible public ridicule?
Because they tarnish their names as it is. So he's
so what? They've nothing to lose.
They've nothing to lose because they've already made the accusation, so they need to take it one step further. And if you even look at see what way things are going, whether these Netflix documentaries are happening or anything else, it is very, very convincing, and they are very appealing, especially the Me Too movement. This is what's happening. It's the climate, and everyone is just jumping on board. And I'm not saying all of that is wrong, but these guys have, for the last 5 years, changed their story so many different times. Right, they've had 5 years to write a narrative. It was very descriptive. It's like if a producer or anyone, screenwriter, goes in to write a film. It is a narrative. These two have sat together and cooperated this. Michael Jackson, like him or not, his attitude towards children has never changed. His attitude or his opinion towards children has never changed. Whether you like it or not, but that is, he never lied about that. And to me, in my opinion, if you've got someone who was guilty of something like they say he knew damn well in the documentary that he was doing what he was doing. But honestly, would you honestly put yourself in that situation, publicly speaking about the love and affection you have towards children? And the reason why he loved children that much, because this guy was the biggest brand in the world. He's big in McDonald's. He's big in Coca-Cola. He was even big in Disney in the 80s. He was the biggest brand in the world. He was a massive cash cow. He couldn't trust an adult from Adam. Adults let him down. So
all right, Justin, you said last night the documentary was quite convincing in ways when you looked at the two guys, especially when they went into detail of the abuse they claim to have suffered. But you believe that they had nothing to lose by taking part in this. Why would their families, their mothers, take part in it? For the same reason?
Adrian, did you watch it last night?
I did, yes.
The mothers, in my opinion, didn't do them any justice if they wanted to. They seemed a bit hyper. They obviously just craved fame. Back then with MJ and any association with fame, and they had no problem doing this. As I said, the whole family have thrown the name under the bus, so doing this isn't nothing new. It can only escalate their claim. This can only escalate it.
Okay, all right. Stay there for 1 second if you can, please. 6797 981 is our telephone number. On the other line here, I have another lady whose name and voice we have had to disguise for, again, legal reasons, to do with a sexual abuse allegation. We're calling her Julie. Julie, a big Michael Jackson fan, but also somebody who suffered abuse as a child.
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you see the documentary last night?
I deliberately boycotted it. I did not see it, no.
Okay. But you are annoyed with what Fiona was saying. Why?
Very much so, because the documentary is based on pure lies. Everyone who knows the story about allegations against Michael Jackson would know that he was never convicted because he was always on the right path. However,
okay, but just because somebody wasn't convicted doesn't mean they didn't do anything.
Well, I believe very much that he was an innocent man because my lifestyle growing up was very similar to his. so I can relate very well.
Meaning what, Julie?
It means that I love and adore children. And for that reason, because he did not have a proper childhood, he wanted to make sure every child that went to Neverland had all the amenities that children would. Because, I mean, if you want to go to Disneyland, not every parent can afford it. But he made Neverland affordable and open to every child. So for these people to actually come out and tell
but what this documentary portrayed last night is, yes, he certainly did wonderful work for children and for children's charities and so on, but that there was some special friends that he had. That's what was portrayed in this documentary.
But there were no special friends because, I mean, I personally never knew anything about Wade Robson. Only a few years ago when he was always talking about how great Michael Jackson is, how Michael Jackson is the reason why he is what he is today. And I started following him because I'm into music and his choreography was, brilliant and all that. And I loved it. But it's just for him to turn around. I mean, come on, he did the same thing to Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake. So he's a known liar. So this documentary is definitely going to support and help his ongoing case that even Taj spoke about earlier on.
Okay, but as somebody who has been a victim yourself of child abuse, surely you could have an understanding as to why it might take somebody so long to publicly speak.
Very much so.
Right. So with that in mind, can you not have any sort of an inkling of a belief that it may have happened?
I understand how that works. And even like the other person who spoke after Fiona, the same thing. However, when we're talking about child abuse, it's something that I do not take lightly because it's damaging and it's damaging for life. I personally can tell you that. So no matter the counseling, you can never be healed from it. But to actually, for Fiona to compare real issues to lies, for me, I just found it so...
But where some people believe that they were telling the truth, you believe that they're telling lies. And one last call. Tony, your point on this is there's no smoke without fire, and there were too many allegations made against him for it not to be true.
Exactly. First of all, I just say to those people who have gone through what they've gone through, I'm very sorry, and hopefully one day they can find peace within themselves and what happened to them. But look at other cases where there has been sexual abuse with other celebrities and they've been found guilty. It's with such little allegations. Whereas...
But the fact is that Jackson was acquitted back in 2005 of every single charge against him, and I'm sure you remember them all being read out, and that was a forensic court case.
Yeah, and it wasn't just a week or two; it was a long time.
Yeah. So, what makes you now believe that what these guys said on the programme is true?
I don't.
Oh, you don't believe them?
I don't believe them. I just don't think there's too many allegations against him. And he's been found not guilty every single time.
All right, I'm a little bit confused as to whether you believe him or not. All right, but look, thanks very much indeed, Tony, for your call, and Julie, and Justin, and Fiona, and all of you. Thank you very much indeed for all of your calls. You're listening to 98 FM's Dublin Talks. The second episode of that documentary is on Channel 4 at 9 o'clock tonight. Now, after the break, we walk by them every day, but how well do you know your Dublin landmarks? 98. Live and exclusive to Dublin's 98 FM, Monday through Friday between 10 and midday. This is Adrian Kennedy. You're with 98 FM's Dublin Talks. And Trish is here with Thursday's top headlines.
Thanks, Adrian. Gardaí are appealing for information following the second shooting in West Dublin in a week. A 24-year-old man is in a critical condition after being shot while stopped in traffic on the Blakestown Road in Mulhuddard yesterday evening. The attack is not linked to a shooting in Lucan on Friday, but is believed to be part of an ongoing local feud. A recent recent survey shows a quarter of Irish women have been groped in college, with 30% being sexually harassed or intimidated. The issue of sexual violence and harassment at third-level institutions is the subject of a conference in Dublin later today. Childcare staff are being told they'd be better paid if they worked in a supermarket with no qualifications. That's according to a survey from Early Childhood Ireland on recruitment and retention. 65% say they're finding it difficult to retain staff, up 16% on the 2017 survey. And parents spend more on fancy dress outfits for their children on World Book Day than they do on actual books every year. It's World Book Day and kids all across the country are dressing up as their favourite character from a book in school. And now up to date on 98.
98 FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
It's Thursday morning. Good morning to you. How are you? I hope everything's good. I'm Adrian Kennedy, and between now and midday today, this is 98 FM's Dublin Talks, the mid-morning talk and phone-in show for Dublin, by Dublin, and about Dublin. Now, let's move on from the whole Michael Jackson thing, and I think it always will be. Regardless of what you see on television, it's going to be one of those debates that splits public opinion. I believe he did it. I don't believe he did it. But with some very interesting calls in the last hour. Now, next on the programme, our Jeremy is here, and we have a little quiz for you.
Yes.
Quiz with a difference.
It has been announced today that most of you know who Countess Markovic is.
I do indeed, yes.
If you don't, shame on you. She was greatly involved in the 1916 Rising, of course. And I suppose she stood out for two reasons, because it was a woman back then who was involved in the Rising, and also because of her name, because I think her husband was Polish, wasn't he? But she had an Irish name, but she married a Polish man, hence the name Countess Markovic. Well, it's been announced today that there's to be a statue of Countess Markovic erected on O'Connell Street, and she's to become the first woman to have a statue on O'Connell Street.
Now, is there not already a statue to her?
There is a small statue to her somewhere, which I'll find out now in a minute. But it's not on one of our main streets. I remember seeing a statue of her. But they've passed a motion, DCC, to put a spot on O'Connell Street for the monument of Countess Markovic. So it's a big deal, because at the moment on O'Connell Street, you can walk from one end of the O'Connell Street to the other, and you will only see statues of men.
That's right.
And, you know, there were a lot of women in Irish history that did a lot for Irish history, so it seems like a correct gesture. So what we thought we'd do is, every single one of you, when you walk through the city centre every day, you walk by these statues or monuments or whatever, and you probably don't even know who half of them are. So we're going to try and find out, how well do you know your Dublin statues and monuments? Okay? So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to name a statue or a monument, and then you're going to come on and tell me if you know where that is. You have to give me the location of the street. Okay.
By the way, can I just clarify just one thing, if I may?
Yes.
There used to be a statue of a woman on O'Connell Street, but it was removed.
Yes, there was, actually. Yeah, well done.
The floozy in the jacuzzi. She was there for a couple of years until people kept throwing soap into it and bubbles all over.
Well, no, they kept having a bath in her on warm days.
Yeah, but there was a woman on O'Connell Street, but she was nicknamed the floozy in the jacuzzi.
Anne Olivia, was that her name?
That's her name, yeah. But that was removed. So at this moment, there are none.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to name some statues that you pass every day, and you have to tell me where you would find these statues. I'm going to start off with you, Adrian, with an easy one. The statue of Daniel O'Connell.
Is that?
Not O'Donnell now, O'Connell.
Well, I don't think we have a statue to Daniel O'Donnell yet, anyway.
Yeah, no, Daniel O'Connell.
It's at O'Connell Bridge on O'Connell Street.
Yes, it is. That's probably the most famous statue, isn't it?
It's one of the biggest, yeah.
The one that's covered in, it's normally covered in pigeon poo, isn't it? A lot of pigeons do their business on it. Here's another one for you, Adrian. And where would you find the statue of James Larkin?
Halfway up O'Connell Street.
Now, he's the man that in the statue he has his hands out like he's going...
Just between the GPO and Cleary's. Is that right? On O'Connell Street, yeah.
And for those of you who don't know what that statue is, he has his hands up in the air. He's saying, why though? Why though? Isn't he?
Yeah.
And who was James Larkin, Adrian?
James Larkin was the Labour leader in the Great Lockout in 1913.
Okay, one last one for you. Charles Stewart Parnell.
Is at the very end of O'Connell Street. On Parnell Street, actually.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you remember where Mr. Screen was?
Pardon me?
Mr. Screen, the statue of Mr. Screen. This was a monument of a cinema usher. You know, the fella that holds the torch. It was outside the Screen Cinema, just around the corner from Pearse Street Guard Station. Do you not remember that fella?
No, I don't actually.
He was a metal usher, a metal cinema usher. There for years.
No, I don't remember that.
I think he's gone now. Okay, so here's the first one that I'm going to give. I'm going to give you, okay? And you have to tell me where it is, okay? This is one that every single dub should know the answer to, and if you don't, shame on you. Where would you find the statue stroke monument of James Joyce?
James Joyce. Call us right now on 6797981. No point in texting or WhatsApping. We want to talk to you. Where is the statue to James Joyce? God, I can't think where that is.
You literally walked by it the other day.
I literally walked by it the other day.
Yeah, I know you did.
Did I indeed?
Yeah.
Gary's in Crumlin. Gary, you just want to make a little finicky correction.
I just want to ask Jeremy, does he know how many statues is on O'Connell Street?
I'm going to say 5.
No, there's only one.
No.
And that's the statue of our Mary facing the Gresham.
But that's even gone. That's gone.
No, it's not. It's still there. The others are monuments. They're not statues.
No, I wouldn't. Are they monuments? Well, what's the difference between a monument and a statue?
A monument is like a thing to it, like for Daniel O'Connell, but a statue is different.
No, I would say
no. Hang on. A statue. The definition.
Things are going to get very aggressive now.
The statue is defined as a carved or cast figure of a person or animal, especially one that is life-size or larger. Now, that's Daniel O'Connell. So then it's a statue.
No, it's not. It's a monument.
I'm reading the definition of it here.
Okay.
Hang on, I'll read it again. A carved or cast figure of a person or animal, especially one that is life-size or larger.
Okay, Adrian, that's how much you know about Dublin then.
Yeah. Here, lads, it's not worth you losing a friendship over the two of you, okay? Who cares if it's a statue?
Where's James Joyce?
It's out in Sandy Cove, out that way. Out in Glasstool, if I'm not mistaken.
Is it out in Glasstool, Jeremy?
It couldn't actually be further from Glasstool.
Oh.
No, couldn't be. It's nowhere near Glasstool.
Oh, right, okay. It's nowhere near Glasstool.
Right.
And I just remembered where it is, Jeremy, but I won't spoil the surprise.
No.
Stephen.
How are you, lads?
Stephen, where is the James Joyce statue? Or memorial, or whatever you want to call it?
He's on the canal there. Isn't he there? Well, the terrace, around the terrace there.
Just along the banks of the canal. Of the Grand Canal.
Yeah, the Western Terrace there at the back of Fitzwilliam Street and all there. You're around Bagger Street area there, yeah.
Now, I think that's the right answer. He's sitting on a bench, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right?
He is indeed, yeah.
Yeah, I think, Jeremy, tell us if we're right.
The main statue of James Joyce, where are you saying it is?
Along the Grand Canal, and he's sitting on a bench.
That's the wrong answer.
Oh, that's the wrong answer?
Yeah, that's the wrong answer. That's not where he is. Look, I'm going to show you the picture of him as well. There he is standing up. It's the famous statue of him standing up.
Oh, well, then there is one along the canal. There is one along the canal, definitely, yeah. Jeremy's just shown me a picture of one that he's standing up. If you think you know your statues in Dublin, call us right now on 6797981.
Okay, here's another one for you, Stephen. I don't know if you know this one. Where would you find the statue of James Connolly? Now, James Connolly, of course, was the man that... But he's the reason we have unions in Ireland, probably, isn't he, you see?
One of the reasons, yeah.
One of the reasons.
Around Connolly Station, Paul Street area.
Are you just throwing names out guessing, or do you actually know where the statue is?
Oh, they're destroying Korean 15 years around Dublin and trying to take it, yeah.
Yeah, now you know this statue, James Connolly, bald man with a moustache, has his hands in his pockets, and he's wearing a long coat.
No,
oh my God, shame on you.
I'm a bit lost on that one myself.
Shame on you.
Yeah.
No ideas?
Right, you're all brutal. Where's the James Joyce one, will you tell me?
The James Joyce one is on North Earl Street, which is...
Oh, yeah, it's in the middle of the street.
It's in the middle of the street. You can't miss him. You walk by him every day, and I think, is that where Cafe Kylmer used to be?
That's right, yeah, he's just there, yeah.
So Cafe Kylmer on O'Connell Street... which I don't think is there anymore. When you walk around the corner...
There is still a cafe, it's just not called Kylemore.
Yeah, when you walk around the corner, there's Jimmy Joyce literally standing in the middle of North Earl Street.
But there is one of him sitting on a park bench along the banks of the Grand Canal.
Yeah. But the famous one is the one on North Earl Street. That's where it is.
If you want to take our quiz, our Know Your Statues quiz, call us right now on 6797-981. 6797-981. If you think you know your statues in Dublin.
So where's James Connolly?
I'm going to say down towards Parnell Street.
Does anybody know where James Connolly is? I mean, you're just given a huge big area.
Down towards Parnell Street at the O'Connell Street, at the Parnell Street end of O'Connell Street, roughly, I think.
Yeah, you're not far off, actually. I'll give you that one. But
okay.
Do you know the exact road where he is?
No.
No, Beresford Place is where he is, which is near the Garden of Remembrance. So it's at the top of O'Connell Street, near Parnell Street, the junction between Parnell Street and O'Connell Street. Okay, well done, Adrian. Okay, can I give another one to our listeners to see if you know where this one is? And by the way, there's loads of statues a lot of people are saying of James Joyce. Now, here's one that everybody
I'm being told, by the way, that the one of on the bench along the canal is actually Patrick Kavanagh, not James Joyce. He looks a bit like him, though. He's got
it is Patrick Kavanagh. Yeah, you're right. Okay, here's one for all of you. Where would you find the statue of Robert Emmet?
Oh, you've got me now.
No, come on.
No, you totally got me.
Robert Emmet, who was an Irish Republican, of course, a nationalist, one of the men, that we all learned about in school, I suppose, in history. But there is a very famous statue of him in Dublin. Robert Emmet, where is he?
Call us right now on 6797-981. You can text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. Where is the statue of Robert Emmet?
And I'll give you a clue. Most of you walk by him at least once a week.
At least once a week?
At least once a week.
Does anybody know? Get on the phone quickly, 6797-981, and let's see how intelligent you are. Rachel is waiting to take your call. Where is the statue of Thomas Emmet?
Robert Emmet.
Oh, Robert Emmet. Sorry, Robert Emmet. If you think you know the answer, call us right now on 6797-981.
It really is. What I'm seeing at is it's a shame that none of us know where these statues are, isn't it?
Well, no, I haven't a clue where that one is. If you showed me a photograph of it, I might. Show me a photograph of it.
Okay, it's him with a long trench coat, sort of standing up, look on a rock there.
Oh, no, I haven't a clue, no. I don't think I've ever seen that statue.
You have. You're actually very close to him. You couldn't be closer to him at the moment. He's within breathing distance of you at the moment.
What, Diggs Lane?
No, he's not in Diggs Lane. He's nearby. So that's Robert Emmet. If anybody knows where Robert Emmet is, call us 6797-981. And the final one, one of the most famous Irish people of all time. And where would you find the sculpture / monument for Oscar Wilde?
No, you've lost me again.
I forgot. Did you know anything about Dublin? Oscar Wilde.
I knew all the big ones.
Oscar Wilde. He was erected in 1997. So he's not around that long. And the memorial or the sculpture of him is Oscar Wilde lying on a big rock.
I've never seen that.
You have. You literally have.
If anybody knows the answers to either of those, call us right now on 6797-981. Robert Emmet or Oscar Wilde, do you know where either of them are?
And once again, the clue is for Oscar Wilde, it's him sitting on a nice sunny day, and the statue is actually a coloured statue. He's wearing a green coat, and he has his long hair, that Oscar Wilde used to have, and it's him lying on a rock, just chilling out, having a Subway or something like that, or I don't know what he was eating, but he's just chilling out, having a McDonald's.
If you know, call us right now on 6797-981. I have absolutely no idea where Robert Emmet or Oscar Wilde are, but I know somebody intelligent is actually going to give us the answer right now.
Is this not something we should learn in school, by the way? That's what this is proving.
Where all the statues are?
We really should know where they are.
Danny, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Danny?
How are you doing? I'm having my little break, and I'm really enjoying this about the statues and monuments of Dublin.
Good to hear, Danny. Now, where is the statue of Robert Emmet?
Robert Emmet's statue is where he was beheaded at St. Catherine's Church on Thomas Street.
I didn't even know he was beheaded. That just shows you.
I didn't myself.
Now,
how do you know the answer to that? Did you Google it, or did you?
I'm a taxi driver. We asked
taxi drivers know everything.
Well, you're actually. So where are you saying Robert Emmet is?
Robert Emmet is on St. Catherine's Church on Thomas Street.
No, you're miles away, Danny. Now, maybe as a taxi driver, you'd probably bring me by Thomas Street to get to him, but he's... What?
Yeah, but sure, sorry, and who was it? Well, I don't believe I'm wrong. No, anyway, sorry about that.
Yeah, don't be sorry. The statue of Robert Emmet is in Stephen's Green Park. That's where it is, and you can literally see it when you're getting on.
That's where he is, right on the corner. Obviously.
Yeah, Danny, yeah.
That's why I got mixed up.
Yeah.
I thought that was St. Stephen.
So you were going to bring me to see Robert Emmet by going by Dublin Airport. I'll drive by Dublin Airport and show you.
And what about Oscar Wilde? Have you any idea where Oscar Wilde is?
Oh, where Oscar Wilde is, yeah. He's on North Earl Street.
Now, where's North Earl Street? Give me a landmark.
It's just off of Collins Street.
Just near the top of Talbot Street, just before you... Right opposite the monument, the spire.
No, he's actually nowhere near there.
Who's that statue then?
Unless he got up and walked, and he's after moving from there. Come on.
Might have walked down from his bridge.
No, he didn't walk anywhere. He's still in the same place that he was.
I'm not ready today at all.
Danny, I put it to you that you're a complete spoofer.
Well, I'm a taxi driver.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. Well, hang on, stay there for a second, Danny, because Anthony reckons he knows all the statues. So let's call a spade here now, Anthony. Are you ready?
Yeah, go on.
Where's the statue of Oscar Wilde?
He's in the corner of Marion Square.
In the corner of Marion Square. Is that the right answer?
Yes, that is the right answer. Well done.
And now that you say that...
Lying on his back.
He is lying on his back, yeah.
And now that you mention it, I actually...
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, now that he said where it is, I've actually seen it. I know where he's talking about, yeah.
Yeah, hang it up.
Well, one more. Anthony reckons he knows all the statues.
Okay, Wolf Tone.
Stephen's Green, corner where Shelbourne Hotel is.
Wow.
Oh, he really knows the stuff.
No, I don't know. It's a huge big statue. You can't miss it. And it's where all the people hang around on their bikes, Adrian. You know the other entrance to Stephen's Green Shopping Centre? Or to Stephen's Green Park? The Shelbourne end. Down to Shelbourne end.
Yeah, that's where it is.
Okay, well, let's go to Darren, who is in his taxi. It must be a taxi driver thing. Well, I suppose they're driving around Dublin all day. How are you, Darren?
I'm not bad, yourselves.
Darren, let's see how good you are on statues in Dublin. Are you ready?
Troy.
Now, Darren, where would I find out?
You're already shouted out.
That's too late now. They've been guessed.
I know.
Now, this is one of Michael Collins. It's not his full body. It's just his bust, Adrian.
Right, yeah.
So it's from his chest up. Where would you find the head and bust of Michael Collins?
The head and bust of Michael Collins?
Yeah.
Well, I know there's a Michael... say...
No. Is it visible from the street or is it in a building?
No, it's in a park, actually.
It's in a park?
Yeah.
It's in a park, but then it'd be down off it'll be down beside his museum there, down on the quay. Down off Bamburgh Street.
You could be here all day. It's actually in Marion Square Park is where it is. Okay, one final one for you.
Go on.
William Plunkett.
William Plunkett.
Now, William Plunkett, of course, was Adrian. Who was he?
He was...
He's the Archbishop of Dublin.
That's exactly right.
That's who he was, yeah. The Archbishop of Dublin.
Must be down near the Pro Cathedral then, is it?
Kildare Street, William
Well done, it is Kildare Street.
Oh, is it?
Well done.
Very good. Well done. Well done. You, fair play, Darren. And one last one, who also claims to know a lot of statues, and that's you, Claude Yu, is that right?
Claude Scully, yes.
Oh, Claude. Oh, how are you, Claude?
How are you doing?
In Malahide.
Yes.
Claude, you know a bit about statues as well?
Well, I knew some of them.
Okay, you knew some of them.
Doubting the last two.
Okay, I'm just going to...
We're down to the dregs of statues now.
No, this man's quite important.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, well, I think so. You'll have to tell me who he is. Henry Grattan.
Oh, Henry Grattan, yeah.
Who is he, Adrian?
He has a pub named after him.
Henry Grattan, I think, is in College Green.
College Green, so whereabouts?
In front of the Bank of Ireland.
That's exactly where he is. I'm showing Adrian a photograph. It's just...
there's Henry, yeah.
Henry Grattan. I suppose...
Nowhere near the pub, actually.
Nowhere near the pub. Does everything relate to pubs with you where these statues are? He's beside the Dame Street taxi rank.
The old Parliament building.
Yeah, and there's also a statue of Thomas Davis there as well. And the Four Angels fountain. Do you know what the Four Angels fountain is?
No.
This is a statue that's opposite the Abercrombie shop. You know the Abercrombie shop? And H&M on Dame Street. And it's four lads or girls, I don't know what they are, and they're holding, they're blowing flutes or something like that. And people normally put soap into the fountain and it goes up all over the floor on the ground.
Wow.
So that's who they are.
Brilliant, you were good, Claude. Thanks very much indeed. Actually, we had a fair few people who had a fair clue about the statues in Dublin, so thanks very much indeed for all
Molly Malone, Adrian, one final one for your words, Molly Malone.
She was at the bottom of Grafton Street, and then she got moved around the corner there. She's just around the corner. Around the corner? Not Exchequer Street, Exchange Street or something like that. I don't know what the name
All
of
I
the
know
street
is I know all these statues by the restaurants in there. She's near Nando's. That's basically where she is. She's near Nando's.
What street is that?
The street that Nando's is on.
Which Nando's?
The Nando's behind us there.
All right, thank you very much indeed. You're listening to 98 FM's Dublin Talks. And this is Adrian Kennedy with you until midday today. I want to give you a chance to have a brilliant night out, courtesy of 98 FM's Dublin Talks. Next Thursday, this day next week, we are having a listeners' party taking place at Shelbourne Park Greyhound Stadium. Now, Shelbourne Park, of course, is the home of greyhound racing in Dublin. Feel the speed of a fun night out with your mates. So, next Thursday, we're throwing a massive Dublin Talks listeners' party, and we'd like to invite you. If you'd like to come along, all I want you to do is text the word dogs, followed by your name and details, and send it to 0877 98 98 98. Text dogs, followed by your name and details, to 0877 98 98 98. Now, the only thing I will say is there's been huge demand for this, so please only text if you can actually go next Thursday, as opposed to taking the tickets and then not showing up. Okay? All the staff here know how angry that makes me. So if you really, really want to go for a night of the dogs, we can invite you and 3 of your mates next Thursday night, and we'll have we've finger food, we've a tipster on the night, you get a race programme, complimentary refreshments. It's going to be a great night, and we've done these on a number of occasions and had fantastic nights. So if you want to join us next Thursday, text the word dogs, followed by your name and details, to 0877 98 98 98. Only if you are available next Thursday, the 14th of March. And I'm really looking forward to it. We've had some super nights at Shelbourne in the past, and we're looking forward to this one. It's basically just an advance of St. Patrick's Day celebration. Okay, there you go. Dogs, followed by your name and details. Send it to us right now to 0877 98 98 98. This is Adrian Kennedy with you until midday. After the break, have schools any right to tell parents how to feed their children? I want you to have a think about that in a second. I'll be talking about a letter that one parent got straight after the break.
98 FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors. New store now open at Belgard Road, Tala. 98 FM.
Now, next on the programme, here's a question for you, and I'd like to get your opinions on this. Are schools too strict on what their kids can bring in for their lunch? Have schools any right to tell parents what they can and can't give their children for lunch? Now, the reason I'm asking this is we've had an email from a Dublin mum by the name of Jess, who is disgusted that she was pulled aside for an item she included in her daughter's lunch. Here's what she had to say. Have a listen to this. It's interesting. Lads, can you bring this up on your show? I'm fuming. I've just come home from picking up my 7-year-old daughter from school. I was pulled aside by her teacher, and I thought it was going to be about something serious. But she basically told me off for including a fruit winder in her lunch. Now, I know schools are trying to get kids to eat healthy, but I thought this was a total overreaction. It wasn't a Mars bar, it was a fruit winder, which is made of fruit. We've had notes home about what you can and can't bring in, and this wasn't on the list. I get that schools don't want kids bringing in rubbish, but I think things have gone too far. Kids can't bloody breathe these days. It seems the only things that would be acceptable now are rice cakes and vegetables. Give over. Let kids live a little. I think schools just need to relax. I'm sure I'm not the only person who thinks this, and that's a lady called Jess. I want to know whether or not you can relate to this, Mum. Are you restricted on what you can put in your children's lunchbox? Do you think schools have gone over the top with this? Excuse me. Call us right now on 6797 981. Now, I know when I was a kid, we could bring anything to lunch with us. You could have a packet of crisps, you could have banana sandwiches, you could have whatever you wanted, and it was never questioned. And I would argue that when I was a kid, none of us were fat. We all ran around the place. We all had great crack, and we were all skinny. but we could bring whatever we wanted into school with us. But can you understand why this mother is fuming that her teacher pulled her aside and gave out to her for having a fruit winder in the child's lunchbox? Call me right now on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp the programme 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. Elizabeth, you're on 98 FM. Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, Adrian.
Well, Elizabeth, this lady's a little bit annoyed that the teacher gave out to her for including a fruit winder in the child's lunchbox.
Well, I can understand that she's annoyed about it if it wasn't put on the list of what's restricted. But I personally wouldn't put them into my kids' lunchboxes because to me they're classed as sweets. They're high in sugar, E numbers and everything. But each parent should be allowed to do what they want to do with their kids. But if the school has a healthy eating policy and you're breaking the rules of the school, what are you teaching your children? You are teaching your children to break the rules that it's okay. You as a parent have a responsibility to adhere to the rules as well as they do.
Okay, why do we need rules on what kids can bring to school? Like, say, you 4 children, what sorts of rules does the school have?
It's just, we're not allowed to send in any, like, chocolate spreads or sweets or biscuits, anything like that. Nothing, like, sweet-wise. We are allowed to send in sandwiches and yogurts.
Right, so no chocolate, no chocolate, no sweets, no biscuits, no crisps. Nothing.
Not unless they're having a party at the Easter break or the summer break or anything like that.
So that's a special day?
Yeah. They do supply healthy food options, like they would give them popcorn with no salt on it, or they give them like corn snacks. They're vials, but my kids love them. They love getting their little packs of fruit or whatever the school supplies, and we supplement the lunch with maybe half a sandwich and a bit of fruit or a yogurt or whatever it may be.
Now, I mentioned that when I was younger, which is not yesterday or the day before, but we used to be able to bring anything into school. And like I said, none of us were obese. We were all skinny kids and we ran around the playground or whatever, but there was never an issue over what you brought in your lunchbox. Why do you think it's become a thing?
I'm not 100% sure. My husband's diabetic, so he is. So my children are prone to getting diabetes, which is probably why I would be quite strict sometimes on what they will eat. I'm not saying I don't give them sweets, and I'm not saying I don't treat them to a Happy Meal or anything like that. If a parent wants to raise their child a certain way, then that's their prerogative. And nobody has the right to put down another parent, especially.
But that's what happened. But that's what happened to this lady, that she was pulled aside by the teacher.
She shouldn't have been put down by a teacher. I've had letters home because one of my children snuck sweets into school without me knowing in his pocket, and I got a phone call from the school, and I was disgusted.
Well, okay, stay there for 1 second, because Tanya, your daughter's in play school. And something that I always thought was healthy is actually banned from your daughter's play school. What is it?
It's yogurt. She's not allowed to bring yogurt into school.
Really?
Yeah. Now, there's a long list of things, but yogurt is on them. Yogurt, she's not allowed to have yogurt.
Okay, the one thing that I understand them having a ban on is peanuts. Okay? I completely get that because some child, unbeknownst even to anybody, could have a severe peanut allergy. So I completely understand how kids aren't allowed to bring peanuts into school or play school. But yogurt?
Yeah, I know. I don't get it. I don't understand why. I know the sweeteners in them, and some brands there's sweeteners in them, but I mean, I give her yogurt at home.
And how do you feel about being told, no, you're not allowed to have yogurt in school, where you think, well, yogurt is actually all right?
Yeah, I kind of be a rule abider. I just go by the rules, you know, and like with play skills in schools, I don't know, I've only one child. I'm nearly afraid to challenge the teachers on them, because I'd be afraid then, you know, does that look bad in my little girl? Does she get singled out and that her mum is the one complaining about the yogurt?
Were you shocked when you were challenged over the yogurt?
Absolutely shocked. Absolutely I was like, yogurt, like. But to me now, looking at it now, I think maybe it's because it's the play school, maybe they don't want them bringing in because they're quite messy. Could that be it? Is a school jumping on the bandwagon a little bit?
Elizabeth, in your children's school, are they allowed to bring yogurt in?
Yes, I have 3 in primary school and 1 in creche, and all 4 of mine are allowed to bring yogurts. But it could be the fact that it's too messy. But my sister's children, they're in primary school. They're not allowed to bring in yogurts because they've carpets on in the classrooms, and that's why they're not allowed to bring in yogurts. So that lady could have a point that it's probably too messy. But I'm also just wondering, is there a child in the class? I'm sure the mother doesn't know, but would they have a lactose allergy, like being lactose intolerant? And between kids, if a teacher's not watching and one of them feeds another child that's lactose intolerant a yogurt.
Okay, stay there for a second, because Tanya, here's one WhatsApp message which may have the answer for you.
The reason why play schools and normal schools ban yogurt is because it's too messy. They'd have to clean up after the kids. That's the only reason. It's not that they're unhealthy or anything.
Yeah, you see, I don't really get that. Okay, so some foods are messy, but sure, get over it.
Yeah, exactly, get over it. Yeah, and with the list of things, like you say, peanut butter, obviously there's kids with allergies, and you don't want any kid getting hurt or upset unnecessarily in school. But because something is messy, that's adding to a long list of things that you can't bring in just because it's convenient.
They'd have to change that policy if there was a child that only eats yogurt, because or an autistic child. I have an autistic child, and for a long time all he'd eat is yogurt. Do you know, like, he'd only eat yogurt. So, they'd have to change that policy.
God, here's another message. My son is in a DESH school, and they get their lunches provided, but they're only allowed to have ham on Tuesdays because it's high in salt. Jeez, I must be dead. I used to have ham sandwiches every day.
Oh my God. I do think they are taking it a bit too far with their policies. There should be a set list, and that's it. Yeah.
All right, both of you stay there for 1 second, because when you hear this story from Isabella, what happened to your daughter on Valentine's Day in school?
I sent her in with a packet of Love Heart sweets because she's recently dairy free.
Right.
And I told her not to eat them unless teacher said, because sometimes they allow them for a special day, have a treat. But she broke the rules and opened them, and she had them on her table, and she was reading them, and he took them off her and threw them in the bin.
No.
And told her she was not allowed those.
And this was on, the important thing about this was on Valentine's Day.
On Valentine's Day. And
which is like the one day that you have your little Love Heart sweets.
Yes.
And what did you think about that?
I went up and made a complaint to the principal, who at the time said she couldn't she couldn't really let me know because she wasn't sure what happened. But she agreed if that's what happened, it was very unfair. And we've heard nothing since. Molly has not been apologised to, or...
So they took the sweets off her and threw them in the bin?
Threw them in the bin, yes.
That's awful, that is. Especially given the day that was in it. It was Valentine's Day.
Yeah. But just saying what all the other girls, when she was in junior school, the very beginning, junior infants, senior infants, they would not allow oranges or fruits, because fruits often break and you need scissors to open them, and then children can't open an orange. And they said teachers aren't there to assist them with their lunch.
Oranges, sorry, hang on, the frubes, because you can't open them without a scissors, although I can open them with my teeth.
They break off them, yeah.
Okay, so. But oranges, why oranges?
Because some children can't peel an orange, so you'd have to...
Really? That's the reason?
Yes.
Now, this is getting ridiculous. You can't bring an orange, which is a fruit, which is one of your 5 a day, and you can't bring it to school because some kids can't peel them.
Yes.
What do you make of that, Tanya?
Well, yeah, I think it's on my list as well. It's just gone to the stage my little daughter goes in with processed cheese and a cut up apple every day. I don't think that's good either, because, it gets boring. Our lunch is monotonous, and then that's what I think ends up with kids not wanting to eat food, is because if you're giving them the same thing or very similar things every single day, they get bored. So I think where they might be eliminating one problem, they're causing another.
All right, here it gets worse. Wait till you have a listen to this WhatsApp voice message.
Hi guys, very surprised last week when I gave my son sparkling water for lunch. He came home and told me he wasn't allowed that anymore. As regards to yogurts, I buy the Froobs, the yogurt in a tube, and freeze them. Less messy. Thanks.
Yeah, but they're not allowed to bring Froobs into some schools because they can't open them. This is unbelievable. Sparkling water. What's wrong with sparkling water? All right, we're going to take a quick break. I'd love to hear from you on this. 6797-981 is our telephone number. Michael, I'm going to talk to you after the break, but you think some parents are just downright irresponsible when it comes to this?
Yeah.
All right, stay there. I'll be with you straight after the break.
98 FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors. New store now open at Belgard Road, Tala. 98 FM.
Now, we're in the middle of a conversation. This was sent in to us yesterday by a lady called Jess, and here's what she said. Lads, can you bring this up on the show? I'm fuming. I just come home from picking up my 7-year-old daughter from school. I was pulled aside by her teacher, and I thought it was going to be about something serious. She basically told me off for including a fruit winder in her lunch. Now, I know schools are trying to get kids to eat healthy, but I thought this was a total overreaction. It wasn't a bloody Mars bar, it was a fruit winder that is made from fruit. We've had notes home about what you can and can't bring in, and this wasn't on the list. I get that schools don't want their kids bringing in rubbish, but I think things have gone too far. Kids can't breathe these days. It seems the only thing that will be acceptable now are rice cakes and vegetables. Give over. Let kids live a little. I think schools need to relax. I'm sure I'm not the only parent who thinks this. And if anybody can explain to me why a school would have a ban on fizzy water. I mean, it's just water with bubbles in it. I'd love to hear from you. And in fact, Keith has a suggestion.
Jesus, if you're going to give your kids sparkling water going to school, you might as well give them a sharp knife. Lethal stuff, that sparkling water.
Lethal stuff, sparkling water. If anybody has the answer to that, please let me know why a school would possibly have a ban on sparkling water. Now, Michael, you believe that parents need to start being responsible here.
I don't know what to start with this Jess one. She doesn't sound that bright to me. A fruit winder is basically candy. It's not fruit. She thinks a fruit winder is fruit, then she needs to go back to school herself.
Well, her exact words were, it's a fruit winder that is made from fruit.
Her brain is made from fruit. That's what I think. The school is right on this one. I have issues with the education system, but the teacher was right on this one. A fruit winder is candy. It's candy. Anyone with a brain knows it's candy. It's not fruit. That's like calling fruit pastels fruit. Is she stupid or is she take or what? What's the story like?
Okay, well, do you not think, though, that... yeah, okay, I'll take that on fruit winders, and if she thinks it's fruit, it's not, but whatever. But have schools not gone a bit far? You can't bring yogurts, you can't bring oranges.
No,
you can't bring fizzy water.
I tell you, well, that's probably covering like fizzy drinks in general. Like it's probably just
no. We're talking about water, carbonated water. All it is CO2 or whatever is added into it to make it fizzy.
I know, but that's the first time I've ever heard of that myself. Now.
No, I've never heard the like of it.
Yeah, I'll tell you when the schools go too far. When I would actually have a problem is when they start telling you that you have to be a vegan and all this kind of carry on. That's when they go too far.
But no, I don't know of any schools that have done that.
I know, but that's when I would stand up and say, hang on for a second, like, but like, you know, in general, like the schools, like you've got 15, 20, 30 kids in front of you and they're on sugar. One kid on sugar is bad enough. Sugar makes kids hyper, and yogurts are full of artificial. 95% of yogurts are full of sugar, full of artificial sweeteners.
Oh, by the way, sorry, just for 1 second. We're talking about fruit winders, yeah? And fruit winders, according to the ingredients, are 70% fruit.
Yeah, but come here, what's the other 30%? I've seen fruit winders, I've had fruit winders. I was on a long drive, I had a fruit winder and it gave me a good high. It gave me a good...
But okay, hang on. Fruit, 70%, it says pear puree from concentrate, strawberry puree from concentrate, and then glucose syrup and stuff like that, but 70%
that's pure
fruit.
Sugar, yeah, but that's pure sugar. That's marketing.
That's proper marketing. Like, that's not fruit. You take a banana or an apple or an orange and you put it beside a fruit winder. A fruit winder looks plastic. It's not fruit. You can break down something until it becomes. And you can start it off from fruit, but you boil it, you cook it, you do all sorts of things. So it's not fruit at the end. Like, a fruit winder is not fruit. It's candy. Just if you want to be an ignorant person and say it is fruit and say, "Oh, you're my child fruit," and it clearly
okay, but let me ask this question then. Okay, this particular parent, whatever, Jess is her name, yeah, she chose to send her child to school with a fruit winder because she believes it's fruit. Isn't that her right to decide what her child eats, or shouldn't it be? We're living in a time where we have more awareness and we know what sugar does. But I already said, Michael, when I was a kid, you could bring anything into school. You could bring crisps, you could bring anything. I used to make crisp sandwiches in school, but we were all skinny rakes. There wasn't a pick in any of us.
Yeah, I know that, but it was different back then. Like,
why? What was different?
You didn't have the amount of artificial colour and sweeteners.
Here, a packet of potato was a packet of potato. It hasn't changed much.
A packet of potato back then had just salt and vinegar in them. Today they've got MSG and all sorts of flavourings in them. You know what I mean? Like, it was a different world. We didn't have access. I mean, getting a treat back in them days was a big deal. Now kids, like, they go to school and on the way home they'll spend €2 or €3 on sweets. I know kids who live on sweets. They don't eat anything else but sweets. So it is a different. Like, the kids, the teachers now, the schools know that when a kid is on sugar, they're different deal. It's different. It's hard to deal with them when they're on sugar. If you have 20 kids, if you have 15 kids and 7 of them are on sugar, like, or 2 or 3 of them, like, the teacher could be taking up the whole class dealing with one kid who's off the head on sugar, like, or sweeteners.
I won't tell you we used to go to school with a packet of crisps and a soda stream Coke, but I won't mention that. Stay there for a second. Let me have a listen to. Okay, we were talking about fizzy water a moment ago. Maybe this is the answer.
To the best of my knowledge, the reason why sparkling water isn't allowed is due to the fact that when they open the bottle, the bubbles will rise to the top and possibly spill on the ground, which is causing trip hazards. Totally over the top. It's only sparkling water.
Really? Oh, I've heard it all now. So it could be, some of it might spill on the ground and become a trip hazard. Thanks, Jane. Claire is in Meath. You're on 98 FM. Claire, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks, Claire. Now, you only had an argument with your sister this morning about this exact topic.
Actually, with my son, my almost 7-year-old son. The teacher pulled me aside yesterday and said he refused to eat his lunch, and he gave back chat to the teacher because he didn't want to eat what was in his lunchbox, which was brown bread, the small wheat loaf brown bread, had a ham inside it, carrot sticks and a banana. He wouldn't eat the banana, he wouldn't eat the carrot sticks, and he just took the ham out of the brown bread and he refused to eat the rest. So we're completely limited. It's very hard to get kids to eat fruit. I mean, at the best of times, and that's all they're allowed to have. I was told I can only give yogurts. I'm not allowed to give fruits.
At least you can give. Sorry, why can't you give fruits?
They just said no fruits allowed, and they're the exact same as yogurts, but just in a tube where you just push it up from the bottom like you would a toothpaste thing.
Yeah, the argument I heard earlier on is the reason you can't give them fruits is because kids can't open them.
Well, look, I mean, my 6-year-old can open the fruits because they're already slightly cut anyway.
Yeah, so you just peel it.
It's a matter of just pulling it aside. There's also a little thing you can buy in the shops. I know Tesco and Dunnes do them. They're little plastic, strawberry-shaped type yogurts, and you can unscrew the lid, and then you can just squeeze this thing, and it's kind of like a fruit. It's the same idea. You just squeeze it in the yogurt.
Because it sounds like we're getting to the stage you may as well send your kids to school with nothing and then feed them when they get home.
Exactly. When I went to school, we were given a ham or cheese or jam sambo. We were given a 5p packet of crisps.
Yep.
We were probably given a macaroon bar or a snack bar.
Yep.
And we were given a fizzy drink or anything like that. We can't even send them in with rice cakes. Do you know the rice cakes that would be covered in toffee or would have a small layer of chocolate? You're not allowed to send them in with that either. So every morning it's an argument with him. Now my other two are fine. They'll have yogurt, grapes, strawberries. And they'll have the brown bread sandwich or they'll have a jam sandwich or something. He is just defiant on the fruit, and he's not eating enough. Now the school do subsidise lunches. They give out mini boxes of Cheerios, and they give out this looks like a large cookie, but it's a wheat biscuit in a singular packet and fruit. But sure, he comes home with all of that in his bag and doesn't want it.
So you're wasting your time. You can
waste my time.
You can try as much as you like.
Yeah, and I mean, if you were to buy a small punnet of strawberries, you're talking nearly €3, and you get about 5 strawberries in it. You know, and a punnet of grapes is $2.69, and so they're gone within 2 days. You know, it is quite expensive to buy all the lunches, and then it's disheartening when they come home and they haven't eaten their lunch. You know, and then they're saying they're hungry.
That's what I just said. You'd be nearly better off to just let them starve at school for all the hassle that it brings.
Yeah, but I can see where they're coming from. They are getting a little bit too strict for my liking. But years ago, when you think about it, there was no PlayStations, no Wiis, none of this stuff. All the kids were on the roads. They were playing tip the can, hopscotch, kiss chasing.
Like I said, I was only looking at a photograph of myself when I was about 7 recently, and so there wasn't a pick on me. Not a pick on me.
No, Todd, you were told to get out of your uniform and get out of the house and get out and play. And you weren't coming back into the house until it was dinner time. And once you ate your dinner, you were told you had a half an hour or 40 minutes, get out, and you'd be called back in then for supper and pyjamas.
So that's where the problem is, isn't it?
I think so. You go out in the streets now after school, you don't see the kids out playing curbs or squares or running around chasing food. They're all sitting in their bedrooms with their headsets on and playing all these Xboxes and everything else. They're not active as much as they used to be, so they're not burning it off.
Okay, now I just got a message that's directed at you, Claire, and it says, it's not that hard to get kids to eat fruit. That's a cop-out. The schools are trying to make sure kids don't grow up with heart disease or diabetes.
I send my kids into school every day with fruit, and they come home with the fruit. What are you going to do? Hold them down and force feed the fruit into them? I've taken the skin off the apple. I've taken the core out of the apple. I've chopped up the apple. I've chopped up everything. They'll still come home with the fruit in the lunchbox. They might have taken a bite out of a strawberry and went, didn't want that today. You can't force feed a child fruit.
No.
I try to explain that fruit is good for you and it helps you grow, and I make a big fuss saying, I think your legs have grown this week and I think you're getting taller, and you big them up a little bit to think, the fruit is making me, taller or making me brainier. I often make a joke about the carrots saying, well, look, Mammy wears glasses because she didn't eat her carrots when she was younger. You try everything you can. You do your best as a parent, but you can't force feed them.
Well, I know as a kid I wasn't mad about fruit either, and the only way my mum could get me to eat fruit was to put it on a sandwich with a bit of sugar on it, and you're probably not allowed to do that either. Are you even allowed to bring white bread sandwiches in?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's all right. Thank God for
sugar
that.
Sandwiches. I had sugar sandwiches.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah. All right, stay there for a second. Roisin, tell me what happened in your young child's school.
There was a little girl in my son's class. This is junior infant, so the little girl would have been about 5 or 6. Brought in fruitcake, and it was taken off. Off the child and thrown into the bin.
A fruitcake?
Yeah, fruitcake. Now, only a little slice, and still, it was thrown straight into the bin.
What was the issue with the fruitcake?
It was. I think it's just classed as junk, which is a bit mad. But I can understand it why they do it. That. I send my kids in with lunch, but the school will also provide lunches, so they'll get the best of both bread. And I'd imagine it would be ham or cheese with an inch of butter, as sandwiches used to be when I was in school. And then they'll be offered either bananas, oranges, or apples. And then they'll have their milk there as well.
But a fruitcake is a big no-no?
No, absolutely not.
Unbelievable. So
I can see, there was another parent that went mad because their child wasn't allowed Nutella. There was a nut allergy in the class.
And of all of the things that are banned, I completely understand that, okay? I think everybody understands that.
Yeah,
but a lot of the rest of it, I just can't get my head around. That's a real eye-opener, I have to say. All right, thanks, Roisin and David. My apologies to you, David. Unfortunately, I don't have time for your call because I'm way out of time. Thank you very much indeed for listening to the programme today. We're back with you again tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. If you want to get in contact with us, you can send us an email to Dublin Talks at 98fm.com. Dublin Talks at 98fm.com. Have a great Thursday afternoon. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Barry Dunn is live from Dundrum Town Centre after the break with some great music in the next hour, like these.
98 FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors. New store now open at Belgard Road, Tala. 98 FM.